can crypto serve as reserve assets? And would their inclusion in the reserves of different governments be beneficial for the crypto market, especially the price of different crypto assets? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. In 2008, during the financial crisis, according to the US National Forum for Economic Research, many of the government reserves of various nations were depleted. And this is because those reserves were being used to defend the national currency of those countries and also to ensure the economic and financial stability of those countries in the face of the crisis. Government reserves serve other purposes. They are used to make debt payments, to pay for essential goods, and they are also used to support the economic and development goals of a country. Now, I'm most interested in their use to defend the national currency of a country and to ensure the financial and economic stability of a country in the face of an external shock or crisis. For the assets in our government reserve to be able to perform these functions, they need to be highly liquid. This means that there is a market that can absorb large sales and large purchases of that government reserve asset without the price of the asset changing considerably. Bitcoin is one of the most liquid crypto assets. According to CoinMarketCap, it has a daily volume of about 44 billion US dollars. And I'm using volume as a proxy for liquidity. ETH has a daily volume of about 24 billion US dollars. And Tether USDT has a daily volume that is between 86 and 87 billion US dollars. These three assets are highly liquid, but their liquidity pales in comparison to those of the US dollar, the euro, the British pound, and the Japanese yen. The daily volume of the US dollar is about 6 trillion US dollars. That of the euro is over 2 trillion US dollars. Although the volumes of the British pound and the Japanese yen are much lower, they are still considerably higher than those of Bitcoin, ETH, and USDT. So when it comes to liquidity, a government is better off holding one of the major fiat currencies. For the assets in a government reserve to perform their function, they also have to have low volatility. The past 3 months have been quite volatile for the crypto market. If we look at Bitcoin, it started the year at over 100,000, and just last week it dipped to a low of about 77,000 US dollars. The other crypto assets have fared much worse. If we put that to the side, during a bull market, the prices of crypto assets go up considerably, and during a bear market, they lose their value considerably. Some can lose up to 80-70% of their value. So volatility is just a characteristic of the crypto market, and it is 5 to 7-fold higher than that of the US dollar or the British pound. So I feel adding crypto to government reserves is a very interesting proposition. I am curious to see how governments who are adding crypto to their reserves will manage that crypto, because in its current form, I do not think crypto is an ideal reserve asset for a government reserve. In fact, for most government reserves around the world, the reserve currencies are the US dollar, the euro, and to a lesser degree, the Japanese yen and the British pound. Now, I wanted to talk about strategic government reserves. And to explain what they are, I'm going to offer some illustrations. During Hurricane Katrina in 2005 in the United States, the production of crude oil on the Gulf of Mexico was halted. So the US released crude oil from its strategic petroleum reserves to meet the demand for oil until that oil production resumed. Canada is the largest exporter and producer of maple syrup. But maple syrup yields are affected by different weather conditions. And so to ensure that Canada can meet global demand for maple syrup, can stabilize the global price of maple syrup, and can protect its local industry, Canada has a strategic maple syrup reserve. So strategic government reserves are usually essential commodities or natural resources that a government keeps a stockpile of so that it can buffer itself against any kind of supply chain disruptions. Recently, the US said it would establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There are other countries around the world that have established these reserves or that hold reserves of Bitcoin. China currently has the most amount of Bitcoin reserves. But Bitcoin is not an essential national asset. It's not a natural resource. It's not something that is required for a society to function. The question is, why are governments establishing these reserves, which are still sensitive to the volatility and liquidity of crypto assets? I think that although Bitcoin is not an essential global asset today, that doesn't mean that it will not be in the future. And if it becomes an essential global asset, or the crypto market grows to rival the Forex market, which is the most liquid in the world, and if that happens, then countries that hold Bitcoin will be in a position of strength, right? And they can leverage that Bitcoin to further their own interests. The cynic in me believes that because Bitcoin isn't owned by anyone and Bitcoin moves the crypto market, then holding large amounts of Bitcoin can allow a government to influence the crypto market and maybe even control it based on its own interests. So I think that's also a possibility. If other governments are amassing these reserves of Bitcoin, it can pressure other countries to establish their own reserves as well. But does this benefit the crypto market? Does it benefit the crypto industry? I think it depends. If governments that are establishing these reserves purchase them thoughtfully with consideration of the price impact that those purchases will have, then it will have a neutral effect on the crypto market. But if those purchases and maybe even later sales are made in a way that doesn't consider how they would impact different crypto assets, then it will only add to the volatility in the crypto market. So if we go back to the question that I asked at the beginning of this video, can crypto function as a reserve asset, and will its inclusion in the reserves of governments benefit the crypto market? I feel that crypto is not an ideal reserve asset. I don't think its inclusion will benefit the crypto industry or the crypto market. It could actually just lead to even more volatility in the long term. So these are my thoughts. If you have thoughts on this topic, please share them below. But this is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.